Hey guys. So we are into session 7, and our last time together, you were responsible to highlight the things that you did really great in your writing and then comment based on the checklist what areas you accomplished. And I noticed that a bunch of you had some goals about craft and about organization and paragraphing and dialogue, and you've already set your goals in place, which means that you're right there ready to start a brand new fairy tale. So, um, all of that work that you've been doing up until today has been excellent. And now I think that I'm going to start giving you a little bit more freedom and giving you the tools you need to guide your own fairy tale. And this one is actually going to be um, published. All of the fairy tales that you write in this from session 7 going forward will be published at the end of this bend into a class book of fairy tales, which I'm super excited about. And so, because it's important it's going to be published, we really want to listen carefully to our lessons going forward. We want to follow the steps, and we definitely don't want to follow behind, because I'm sure some of you have already felt it, that if you fall behind on any of the days, it's really hard to catch up. So let's focus on today. We are starting fresh with a brand new fairy tale. So you should have been thinking already about what's going to be my next fairy tale. What do I want to adapt? And we still have, Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, Three Billy Goats Gruff. You could also do the Three Little Pigs, which I didn't give you the story for, but I'm pretty sure you all know it. And Goldilocks and the Three Bears is another one. And if you think of any other really great fairy tales, they could be options for an adaptation. You just do need to run those by me. But these are the ones that I highly recommend you decide to do. Now, if for the first fairy tale you wrote, you did Cinderella, maybe you want to choose to not do Cinderella again. I would push myself a little bit and pick a different one. However, if you feel like, my first one that I wrote was really not my best and I completely want to change it into a different version, that could be an option as well. Just let's communicate and see why you're making those choices. And so you're up to this point, you're in bend 2, which means that you need to take on the job of writing this new fairy tale from start to finish. And you are going to start that today. You're going to plan your work. Now, I actually did a little bit of the helping for you in the planning department, but you're really responsible to stay on that plan for the next week and be able to complete your fairy tale by the due date, by the deadline, and that way we can complete a fairy tale library. So today I want to teach you that all good things are made twice. Really, they are. Once in the creator's imagination and once in reality. So you can have amazing, phenomenal ideas, but they have to also be produced in reality. Writers plan not only their writing, which you will be planning today, but also their process for making a piece of writing. So it's not just, oh, today I'm going to do this, this, and this, but it's also, what am I going to do on those days in order to make my writing better? And I know actually that all of you could figure this out on your own, but we're going to do a quick lesson just to be a reminder. So, what many pros do when they get ready to write is they have a sense of what they want to make and how their writing process needs to go. They can use a calendar or they, plan out a schedule. And so I have a template that I created, which is a planning chart that we will use. And the other thing that writers do, which is what you guys did the other day, is set goals. Not only for what the work will be done each day, but how you'll do that work. So to do this, writers need to think, how did I do that work before? And how might I do things even better? And you might be thinking in your mind right now, When I had that lesson about dialogue, I knew that my teacher was telling me to add more conversations, but I didn't really include too much of it in my story. You need to self-reflect. You need to think about all of the things that great writers do when they write stories, and you need to really own them and do them in your writing, because I know that you all know what great writing looks like. So I'm going to actually make another video that explains this playlist, but you each are going to have a copy of this playlist or a schedule or a planning page, which breaks down each thing that you have to do each day. So as you see, April 23rd, which is today, all you have to do is type which fairy tale you're going to adapt. You're going to write the title, Cinderella, Three-Billy Goats Gruff, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Three Little Pigs, whatever one you choose. And that is really your only assignment. Besides for that, it's also just brainstorming how it might go. That is your task for today. But you will see that for tomorrow, you are going to be drafting. So you might say to yourself, oh, all I have to do today is really kind of just brainstorm some ideas and write the title of the fairy tale I'm adapting. Maybe I'll already start drafting so I can get a little bit ahead of the day's work for the next day. That's okay. But just keep in mind that these are your due dates and you want to make sure that you're staying on task. A lot of the work you do this week and next week, will be on your own. Now, you are still getting lessons, but you're expected to follow the schedule. So you really need to start thinking about ways you need to improve your planned adaptation. Thinking about how might the plans I make for this adaptation be even better than they were last time. So thinking about how you brainstormed the first time. Did you brainstorm all the different parts? Did you only brainstorm that you were changing the main character? Did you brainstorm where the setting might take place or how the problem or the story might go? So maybe if you brainstorm a little bit more this time, it will help your story go along better. Just keep that in mind. And I know you should at this point have a fairy tale in mind, and you might probably even have how you're going to start that fairy tale. But please make sure you have these things in place when you are doing your fairy tale and planning. Is it consequential? Which means, do the changes have a domino effect on other changes in the story? So if I change the main character of Goldilocks and the Three Bears from Goldilocks being a little girl to a bear instead, does that change the setting? Does that maybe change what the bear eats? And so when you make one change, it's going to have a domino effect on all the others. And you can even remember that lesson that I gave you a couple weeks back. Does your story fit together? So do those changes match? Do they make sense when they're together? So you don't just throw in a dragon in your story if it doesn't really belong. So make sure that all your parts kind of fit together. And then, is the story you have in mind actually a story? So this is a big one. Some of us are writing a story and it's half a page. Stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it builds up to a problem, and then eventually there's a resolution. So thinking about, is there a character who wants something and runs into trouble? If you're able to do somebody wants, but so then, after you wrote your story, that's a story. So just keeping in mind that, are you actually developing a real story? And as always, I love this chart. So ways authors adapt fairy tales, and these are the ways that you can adapt your fairy tale. You can change the character. You can change the events. You can change their motivations. And that's really important. So writers, These changes you're making as you write your second fairy tale adaptation are going to be really meaningful ones. You're not going to just change the color of someone's hair or their outfit, but really important changes. So as you keep working, be sure to think about how those changes domino into other changes. Here's your task for today. Plan out how your story might go and the changes you will make to the original story. You're going to click on the Google Sheets and type in the fairy tale you will be adapting. That's that fairy tale drop-down menu. You will also click on the Google Doc, which will make a copy for you, and brainstorm how you will change your original to your version. And then all you have to do, click as done. Always remember though, you have that schedule in place. So if you do want to get started on the next day's work, you can. I'm looking forward to seeing how these fairy tales will be a bigger and better version than your first fairy tale. I want to see all the things you've learned so far. And also, don't forget, you can always access those videos from the earlier lessons and watch them over again. As writers, you always want to take on everything you've learned and make your writing better each and every time. Can't wait to see your stories. Bye, guys.